weekly review, and this week is way better than the previous one. As you can see, the whole green week, so that's great. As you remember, last week I took a break from trades on Thursday and Friday, and that helped my psychology a lot. So that was a really good thing to do, but there are also a couple of tips and tricks that helped me a lot. So without prolonging, let's jump to it. And here we're having stats for this week. So I selected already in a filter between the 13th of July till the 18th of July. And we can see that this week was very good because I earned $581, so that's a lot. And I'm still on one open trade, which is already in profit. The trade win percentage was 80%, and I got only one loser, which was just minus $5. And my stats are looking great for this week comparing to the ones from a general standpoint of view of the account. That ones are not great at all. As you remember, I'm trying to get out of the drawdown from this week that I done, and finally I am out of the drawdown, so that's good. And here we're having our week, and we're having all the week is green, and then here we're having one last open trade on the Japanese yen futures, and as you can see, my stop loss is already on the plus above my entry point, and I am trailing this stop loss along that green trend line, so that trade will also be on the plus. But let's see what have changed. As you remember, I was saying on the 10th and 11th I took a break, and I was just placing the trades manually, kinda with the position tool, and I was just placing the dot where I would enter and seeing how those trades would work out. And what I figured out, actually, I always should give way more wiggle room for my trades and not making such a steep trend lines, because I was kicked out very often just by the weeks with the steeper trend lines, and then the trade was going into my direction. So actually that was a good thing to do. So it wasn't like just a break during those 2 days of trading, but it was kind of break of seeing this dollar amount and trying to realize if I would place a position without knowing what is my stop loss and what is my profit, just like indicating them on the charts, how the trade actually would work out. So as you can already guess, one of the most important things that I learned this week was to not create too steep trend lines and allow the trades to have got more wiggle room and more space to breathe. So on the example of gold, what am I doing? Instead of being on 1 hour time frame when I'm placing my lines, it is 2 hour time frame. So I'm changing to 2 hour time frame, and I'm drawing all my lines on 2 hour time frame, and then just when I'm seeing a kind of like potential trade, then I'm jumping on 1 hour time frame and seeing if there's any setup. This has a lot of benefits because first of all, I am seeing twice as much data on the screen than when I'm on 1 hour time frame, and I really tend to not zoom out and see the overall picture of the trades. So this helps me to see actually what was happening before. But also I am not trying to force the trades. I am not creating too many steeper trend lines, and also even for the exits, my trend lines are not as steep as before, so that is helping me a lot. And that actually helped me also to really specify the A+ setups and not just mediocre setups with a trend line that we're seeing within last 4 or 5 hours. And here we can see the change between 1 hour time frame and 2 hour time frame. And 2 hour time frame, definitely comparing to the 1 hour, is way more calm and way more clean. And in this way, I am also more calm placing my setups because I'm not seeing those intermediate candles. So instead of 2 1 hour candles, I'm seeing 1 2 hour candle, and that calms me down more to which direction the trade is going. So let's get back to TradeZilla and let's see what have I done this week. So first we're having the trade of $71, and that, to be honest, I should So let's jump now to TradeZilla and let's see what have I done this week. And the first trade is the $71 trade on silver, and actually I should have not taken this trade. As maybe you remember, I was not supposed to trade on Monday. However, the setup was so perfect that I decided to try out. And also silver is a very expensive instrument. It's more expensive than platinum, so for one tick it's not only $5, for one tick it's $25. And with Apex I cannot actually trade micro silver, so I don't have this opportunity. So the only thing that I could do is literally like to take the full one contract on the silver. And as you can see, like here from Thursday up till Monday, we got a very clean, perfect, steep trend line of 1, 2, 3, kind of 4, 5, 6 touch points, and then it broke. It tried to make a second higher top, and then it didn't manage. It started to roll over, and it crossed also that level of the latest $500, which is okay for the trade for silver with $25 per tick. However, when I started to see that numbers which were fluctuating so fast, like I was $100 in 3-4 ticks, that was too fast, and I just literally got out from this trade as fast as possible, profiting on $75. However, if I would stay longer, then literally this move was something like $2,000-3,000. So I was correct with the direction of the trade. However, mentally I am not ready for such a big positions yet, so I just chipped out earlier. On Tuesday and Wednesday, I placed literally a very clean setups, which I'm very proud of. And on Tuesday, it was micro gold. And here we're seeing 1 and 2 touch point trend line break. And I wasn't sure about this. However, there was a trending market going up. Then the price started to reverse. In that space, we didn't have got any more the higher high. It was a lower high. And then the price went down, created another lower high, and then when this trend line was break, though it's only 2 touch point trend line break, I decided that maybe I should take a trade. However, I was still like a bit hesitant until the price literally done, as we can see here, the retest. It touched this trend line from the other side, and that's when I took the trade and I decided to go short. And as you can see, also the price at the beginning went really much very fast in my favor, but then completely reversed, and I was kind of like on break even for 2 hours, and then it made a move, and I got out kind of like actually at the bottom of that move, so I'm pretty happy about that. On Wednesday, we have a trade which I took on crude oil, and that one was also pretty nice, and I got out in a pretty much bottom of that trade, which I'm also very happy. Maybe you know that there was actually a free, that on TradeZilla somehow like this point is not there, maybe because there is no B adjust in TradeZilla, but the original point was here. You can see on my charts. So that was a perfect trend line with 1, 2, and 3 here touch points, and then it broke, and it was like since beginning of May that trend line was being created. So that one had got a lot of value. So when it crossed, I was pretty sure that it's going down. It's such a valuable trend line. And here again, the price crossed, and I waited for the retest. Actually, I entered on the first retest on the same candle, but I should actually wait on the retest of another candle and then jump in. And also, as you can see, here was like a pretty much a support resistance zone with 1 point here as a resistance and 2 touch points here which were support for the price. So when the price broke this, I was more confident on entering this trade, and then I was holding it for I think 4 hours, something like that. However, when the price reached the 65, 64, it didn't have got any more power to cross, and then it started to reverse and then hit back this price again. And as you can see, it went slightly lower, but it didn't have got again the power to create another lower low, so I just exit that trade, and that was a very good move because then afterwards the price literally reversed. And while coming closer to the end of the week, I started to make stupid mistakes, and Thursday is a great example where, as on Monday, I placed the trades with 2 big positions. So first trade was on crude oil, and it was a really good setup because it had got 3 touch points and then the break of the trend line, so 1, 2, 3, and then the price broke. And this was after my trade here. As you remember, I was shorting, so here I decided that no, the price doesn't want to go down actually, so it looks like we will go up. However, I placed the trade here, and then after half an hour I got out because my stop loss was actually somewhere around here with maximum loss of -$200, which is not too much. However, I went with 4 contracts, and as I was trying to get out of the drawdown, it was very wrong for me on my psychology, and I literally chickened out of this trade. And that trade I wanted to get to 67.10, and as you can see, that wick would give me the profits. Actually, we can mark that level, which was around here, and that wick would give me the profits. However, I literally chickened out. And the other trade was on gold, where we had got 1 point here, kind of like the second one here, third, fourth, and then the break. And actually, because I was before on that trade of oil that didn't work out, I chickened out, so I didn't look that actually that price is having a very hard time to actually cross this trend line. And also we had got the support resistance here, which I was aware of, but I entered when the price was already on the other side of it. So instead of 3,330, I was already on 3,328. So I thought that's a good indication that the price will go down. However, for literally like 1.5 hours, the price was literally crossing my safety line. The safety line also wasn't so great because it was very steep, and I was literally like moving it. Okay, maybe now it's here. Okay, no, maybe it's here. Maybe I will give it a bit more wiggle room. And then finally the price made a move, and because the move was so sudden, and it was actually based on the news, I got out with my profits when I was on $200 on plus, and I was very happy with that, and I said goodbye to this trade. And I got out of this trade because I got in with 2 micro gold contracts instead of 1, and I knew that this is not a great position, not a great setup to take. And anyway, I took 2 contracts. Probably if I would take 1 contract, I would stay longer. However, this trade anyway didn't work out. But because I was with 2 contracts, when I was in $200 profit, I just chipped out and I was happy with the profits, and I didn't let the trade to play it out. So what we can learn from that is that every time when I'm getting into the trade and very fast, within 3-5 minutes, I already want to get out of it because I'm too scared of my losses, then I went with too many contracts. And the same thing is happening when I see my profits and I am very comfortable with the amount of money that I see, and I just want to get out of the trade as fast as possible and just collect those profits. I am not letting then the trade to play out, and I'm missing on way bigger moves. So I decided that with my next trade that I'm in actually currently now, as you know, I will not only go with only with 1 contract, but also try to keep it as long as possible and hold it until either my way higher take profit will be hit with a proper support resistance line, or when my action line will be closed. So let's look at the trade. So I am already really proud of this trade because normally I would probably chip out somewhere around this area here with $100 on plus, and I would be very happy with my profits. Now I'm about $200 on plus. However, still I might get only to $100 on profits, as I'm saying this will be my safety line, and also I'm trailing the stop loss along this line. On the other hand, I'm having a take profit on a round number of 0.0068 on Japanese yen, So that's also a really good area to take profits. So let's see which one will be hit first. And that's kind of very interesting. It's like A or B, which one will be hit first? So as you can see here, we have got the trend line. It wasn't a great setup because we have got like one huge spike here, and then a lot of candles literally hugged this trend line. So when the trend line was broken, I literally immediately took a trade. However, as these are one of my first trades on Japanese yen, the mistake was that I took it when the Asian session was already closed and New York session wasn't open, and we didn't have got any news. So I was actually expecting that for a couple of hours I will end up in a consolidation, and I was very scared. So looking closer, at the beginning, very fast I was on a profit with $100 on profit, and then I decided to wait for the first pullback. And this hour was very hard for me, to be honest, because instead of like taking $100, I'm holding. I will try to keep this trade longer and stick to the rules. And then the pullback happened, and then I was able to create the point B here for my safety line. So that's why this is now my safety line for this trade. I'm also having additional dashed line as a safety line in case I want to take out the profits earlier, but I'm trying to hold as much as possible because you can already see that the price is very far from my safety line. So maybe I should actually take into account that trend line to take the profits earlier. And then we're having my take profit on that round number, and we'll see if that will be crossed. I'm also obviously very often observing the swings. So this swing represents the highest high from Monday to the lowest low, which was happening on Wednesday. And as we're having Friday, so I'm thinking maybe the price will actually close around 50% of that move, especially that it crossed that very important round number. So I'm expecting that the price will try to get to that round number. So we can actually now see that the price is actually literally fighting with this 37.8, and when it will be crossed, there are more chances that the price will go higher. But because the move was so big and so rapid, still the pullback might happen. That candle at 2 p.m. UK time was already quite volatile. As we can see, we had got a very big wicks on both of the sides. So hopefully we will make a move to the upside soon. If not, well, still I'm in the profit, so still it will be a green week for me, and I'm happy for that. And that's all for today, and I hope you learned something new, as always, and see you next time. Bye!